Welcome back to Straight Facts on Tuesday. Potsy's with me. LB is here, ready for his big game tonight. Well, both of you are playing tonight. Both of you. It's Spurs versus City. And I've heard that all Arsenal fans are Spurs today. So we'll be getting into that later because that's been a can of worms online. But gentlemen, how are you both?
Very well,
Good.
mate.
Good. Today's the day, man. Today is the day. Listen, lads, in like 6 hours' time, 7 hours' time, whatever it is, yeah, I'm going to be over the moon, or I'm going to be drinking the strongest alcohol I've got in the cupboard. You know what I mean? And just going, the FA Cup can save our season.
The strongest alcohol anyway, mate. Win or lose, do you know what I'm saying?
That's the maddest bit. Yeah, if City do drop points tonight, your season boils down to an FA Cup final, which is crazy considering how good you are. But yeah, it's going to be an amazing one tonight. We are going to be previewing that. We're going to be looking at this conversation, and I think Kai Havertz really sparks it with he's going to be the biggest Spurs fan tonight. Hence why he's wearing a Spurs shirt in the thumbnail, people, because he's a Spurs fan today. We're going to be looking ahead at that. I wanted to start off though, just to sort of whet everybody's appetite with some Man United news. The first one being Bruno Fernandes. Now there are contrary reports to this. Some saying that he's not thinking of leaving and he's fully focused on the FA Cup final, which seems very short term, but other reports stating that Bruno Fernandes is open to leaving this summer, with Bayern Munich and Inter Milan, two big clubs in Europe that want to sign him. What's your thoughts, gentlemen? I'll go to LB first on this, on United parting ways with Bruno Fernandes.
Listen, this is one that divides people. It divides United fans, and I think it divides football fans as a whole as well, because he's a good player, man. He is a good player, you know what I mean? I'm looking at his numbers. His numbers are fantastic, you know what I mean? First season, Premier League, 8 goals, 7 assists in 14 matches. The season after, he got 29 G&A in 37, 16 in 36, 16 in 37, 17 in 33 so far this season. So the guy's putting up numbers. And he's been, if it wasn't for him over the years, you know what I mean? I think he would have been in worse trouble than you already have been. But it's the thing that I don't like about him, and I think this is where a lot of United fans struggle, is just his attitude. His attitude, he doesn't look to me like, I don't know, it's just the way he plays the game. He's not someone that you particularly like to watch. He's constantly moaning. I don't think he's a very good captain. I think he's a poor captain's choice. But he's a good footballer. And he's probably one of your better footballers at your football club. And this is where the problem lies. There's so many players at Manchester United that need to leave. Is getting rid of one of your better players, some might say your best player, the right thing to do, just because his attitude's not right? Now, it depends where you want to go. If the new owners and the new board and whatever manager's going to be there this summer for taking over next season is prioritising sorting out the training, sorting out the dressing room, sorting out the toxicity, and we spoke about this in the past, and trying to really cleanse it and try and get a squad of players, even if they're not the best, who are all fighting, all pulling in the right direction, then yeah, get rid of him. But if that's not the main priority, and the priority is just to get a better squad, then I look at it and go, is it the right decision to sell him? So I don't know, man. Like I think it's a tricky one, because like I say, he's a good footballer. He's one of your best footballers you've got. But his attitude stinks. He definitely shouldn't be captain. That's the one thing I'd say, in my opinion. If you are going to keep him, take that captain's armband off him, man. Because he's not a good captain at all. But I can understand why. I've heard you and Staffy go at it, many times about Bruno Fernandes. And I get it. I do, because on one hand, he's a quality player, and he gets the goals, he gets assists, and he helps your team. But on the other hand, he just stinks, man. And his attitude is so poor. So This is probably, I don't know, maybe a question for you, but is this probably, other than the manager, the most sort of divisive decision you've got at your football club? Because I would imagine, other than the manager, it probably is. Maybe Rashford, but I'd say Bruno is probably
Yeah. I mean, I look at it from we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago, I think, boys, about who should leave. the first people that should leave are individuals that don't want to be here for whatever reason, irrespective of their quality. So Rafael Varane, he's probably our best centre-back. Lissandro might challenge that, but I think Varane's our best centre-back. But he doesn't want to remain at Man United. So irrespective of his quality, you let him go. What I was told privately today is that Bruno Fernandes is looking at the situation at Man United, loves the club, wants to be there, but he's being told as a senior figure in the dressing room that they're going to be ripping the squad out, ripping the club to pieces and starting again with a rebuild that we all know is going to take for us to challenge for league titles. You are genuinely looking at 2 to 3 seasons bare minimum. Mm-hmm. Bruno's late 20s, going into his 30s. He is viewing this as much as I'd love to be part of that, you have to focus on your own career as well. And I make him right. So we always talk about we want players with the right mentality. Bruno right now is having the right mentality by saying, I want to try and win things now in my career. I can't call Harry Kane out 10 years for not doing that and then suddenly say that Bruno's wrong for thinking in that way. What this does do for me, though, if he leaves, I've looked at the 3 clubs today that are heavily linked to him. Atletico Madrid, who Standard FC, who hate Bruno Fernandes, by the way, love. Simeone is a manager they all love. Obviously. The other 2 teams that are interested are the current Serie A champions, so the best team in Italy, and a manager who everybody's thorning over in Inzaghi. The other side is Bayern Munich, who we know how big they are. Yes, they didn't win a trophy this year, but they're looking to bounce back next season and try and become champions of Germany again, go one further in the Champions League. And all 3 of those clubs are targeting Bruno Fernandes. 3 huge clubs, 2 gigantic clubs, mammoth clubs want him. It ends the debate to me about, is he a good player or is he not? In terms of putting aside your own bias, putting aside your own personal preferences on how you like a player to look, Bruno Fernandes right now, the talk of is there him leaving, and it's the very biggest clubs with Champions League football, title ambitions in their own countries that want him. That, for me, is always the answer that ends a debate around how good is he. I'll give you guys an example. There were Man United fans who told me for years that we shouldn't let Chong go because Chong is an absolute baller that will play at the very highest level. Now, he's in the Premier League, but in a team that's being relegated, as an example. I was told for years I didn't know ball because I thought that Wilfried Zaha was a good player, but I was told by Standard FC and Baller FC and eye test merchants that this guy was just supreme talent. Spent most of his career at Palace. I was playing at a decent level in Turkey, but no big clubs ever came in for him. This is where the debate gets ended for me. I would like Bruno Fernandes to potentially stay, but I understand why he would leave. But he is a top-class player, and some of the very best teams in Europe are now coming in for him, and I think that's proof in the pudding. But, as I've said for weeks and months, I am not married to any particular player. I only want people here that want to be here, regardless of the reason. I want them to be dedicated to the club. And I think the first group of players that have got to go are anyone who's toxic or anyone that just doesn't want to be here anymore. Starting this rebuild off, we need as fresh a slate as possible. So if he wants to leave, there'll be a small part of me that will be disappointed, but I'll wish him good. I'll wish him sort of all the best. I'll thank him for what he's done, and then I'll move on from it, if that makes sense.
You know what as well, just before Dan comes in as well. I think this next step, because obviously you are right, it's going to be 2 to 3 years now. United are going to go down this process. It's going to be 2 to 3 years before United start to challenge again. That's facts. I think if you are going to go down this process, you need the club, and ideally you need the fans really to be pulling in the same direction. So if that means you're going to have to get rid of the divisive players like Rashford, like Bruno, then that's something that you're going to have to do. Listen, there's no in my opinion, there's no doubt he's a quality player. Is he world class? I don't think so. I think he's a very good player, but that's a separate debate. He's a good football player, but he brings toxicity to your fan base, and I think that is what your owners are trying to solve. So let's listen. At the end of the day, you're going to get a payment out of it. It's about who you then buy and where you reinvest that money into the squad.
No, before I go, Dan, I do agree with that, and I spoke about this a good number of months ago, and I spoke of him and Rashford, and I feel they're sort of, rightly or wrongly, depends on which side of the fence on the argument you sit on, they are kind of the poster boys of the toxic era. I think that Martial and Bruno were Martial and Pogba were very much part of that, but Martial's already leaving, Pogba's already gone, so they're out of that conversation. Part of me also does feel like by removing that and kind of starting again, could help the club grow. And I think for me, that's the most important bit here. My personal feelings towards Bruno, I can push aside and say, well, again, I've been asking for a decade for football decision makers. If this is their decision in the short term, I'm going to accept it. I may have an opinion on it, but I'm going to accept it and see how it kind of marinates together. What's your thoughts on it, Dan? I know Bruno isn't everybody's cup of tea, but he's certainly been someone over the past 3 or 4 years that's, without him, Man United would have been in a much worse place.
Yeah, I don't think it's the quality on the pitch. I think it's mentality again. I look at what Rashford is like, and I look at Rashford and Bruno, and I think you're two of the first people I'd get rid of, because I just don't think they're mentally very, very poor. I think when I look at Bruno Fernandes rolling around on the floor, crying like a baby, just pisses everybody off, really. It just takes away the quality. And I know some people like that sort of player. Some people want a Neil Maupay in their squad. You're not going to win anything with somebody like that, in my opinion, in your squad. It's just annoying the hell out of everyone, and he's just crying and having weak mentality. Likewise, Rashford. Who's going to buy them both? I think you can probably get some money for Rashford and Bruno, if I'm honest. I think they're the two players you can get money for. I think Manchester United need to try and find some way of bringing some money into the club from the trash that you've got to try and sell. Because there's not many players that you're going to sell for a hell of a lot of money, unless you're going to sell one of the young kids like Kobe Manu or somebody like that. So for me, I think you need to look at Bruno Fernandes and think, you know what, let's try and take as much as we can between these three, get a bit of a bidding war going, and then look to move forward with a new captain and a new era. I really believe that's the best thing for Manchester United. And I'd be more excited with a new captain than I would buying in new players and having Bruno still there. There's no denying the fact that he's creating chances, and there's no denying the fact that he's a good player on his day, but I don't think that you will get close to a title with a player like him and Rashford, and I think you need to move past that. That's just my opinion, though. A lot of people will look at comparisons. I remember when we had Mesut Ozil, very similar situation, brilliant on the pitch, mentally like something out of the Conference League. Embarrassing, in fact. Always in the news for the wrong reasons. And I see comparisons and similarities in certain aspects on the pitch with Bruno Fernandes. You know, look at me, I'm the one everyone should be looking at. No, man, we need to move on from that. And since we've moved on from the likes of Ozil and Aubameyangs and all that, at the time people were questioning it. But there's definitely more togetherness at Arsenal right now. And I think Manchester United need to look at that and seriously look at it as well. So if you can get money for Rashford and Bruno, I'd be accepting it as Man United and moving on. I really would.
That element I understand. The only element I suppose I don't, it's by the by really, that I don't kind of agree. I get the mentality part, but for me, the fact that it's the Bayern Munichs, it's the Simeones, it's the Inzagis that want him, tells me something different, if that makes sense. And I've questioned it. I've questioned both their mentality.
I'm quickly on that though, Till, because for me, I don't think that he's going to be the main guy at those clubs where he is at the moment with Man United. So they're not going to give him the armband. They're not going to say everything's on you. They're not going to say. So I think Bayern Munich's and Inter Milan's and Atletico Madrid's, I think they're perfect. That's a perfect player for somebody like Simone Inzaghi or Diego Simeone to look at and go, I know you're a little shit on the pitch, and I know you're going to cause a lot of drama and a lot of things for me. I need that in my squad.
Yeah, Simeone would probably love him. Simeone would probably love all that stuff. And again, it's where you want to be. That's a really good point. And I think Atletico Madrid fans, they buy into all of that. So Bruno could become a king there in terms of creativity, goals, could help him win trophies, but would also behave in a way in which that they would like. But listen, I understand where you're coming from. And for me, as I say, I've loved so much of what Bruno has brought to Man United. I've defended him. You know, I remember getting into a Barney with Flawless who sort of said, like, name me something that he excels on the ball. I was like, well, scoring goals and chance creation for a midfielder, like two of the most important things you could excel in. And I've had a lot of those arguments with people, but that's also something that I would like Man United to put behind us. Let's just move on from these individuals and start to kind of rebuild a team, because there's a lot of toxicity at Man United, and I would like to see it sort of dissipated a bit. And I do believe online discourse steeps into dressing rooms. We kind of know this because even Big Ange in the last few days has said, I've been looking at social media and the amount of Spurs fans that want us to lose is embarrassing, which tells you that if the managers are looking, the players are definitely looking what's on social media. And I think it all kind of feeds in. So
do you see similarities, Terry, just quickly, do you see similarities at all from us 5 years ago with where you are now? Now, the reason I say that is because you look at, like, you know, I was having a chat with LB and the guys yesterday on my channel about this, saying I think it's quite harsh when certain people are looking at the Højlunds and the Garnachos and the Kobe Mainus and saying, what are you doing? Because they're the guys that at the moment shouldn't be carrying Manchester United, but they are. And we had a similar thing 5 years ago where people were looking at Saka, Smith Rowe, Martinelli, Willock at the time to carry us forward. And it was like, look, it's not them that's the problem. It's the likes of Mustafis and Kolasinac's and all this. I see similarities there, man. And I just wondered if you did at all.
I 110% agree. When this conversation happened about Man United it was either the late Jose or early Ollie period, so essentially at the same time, where McTominay was young, Rashford was young, Martial, etc., Greenwood at the time, and it was on Monday Night Football, and Gary Neville was asked the question. They put Man United's main 11 up and said, could you see this team emulating the class of 92? And what Gary Neville said was so true. He said, you never really know how good young players are going to be. Some are brilliant at 17, 18 and then never get any better. Some are very, very good and they end up being some of the greatest of their generation. Others start well and fade. Some start okay and get better. You never really know. He said, but the difference between that Man United team that I came through and the Man United team now is that we are asking the Martials and we're asking the Rashfords and we're asking the Greenwoods to be the stars and the leaders. When I came through, this is Gary Neville speaking, I had Cantona, I had Brian McClare, I had Mark Hughes, Schmeichel, Keane, Pallister, Bruce. There was a spine of top class to world-class players. They were the ones who were meant to win the games. They were the ones who were getting the rollickings predominantly from the manager. We were there to supplement that. And football's kind of had this weird thing happen to it if a club isn't run well. Well, you look at the young players at City, Foden as a standout example. Foden has never had it put on his head, you need to win us games, by anyone in the City fan base or anyone at Manchester City Football Club, their journalists or anything. Because they've got he's been allowed to develop at the right pace. Where at Man United, we haven't been. And I think there's areas to criticize Garnacho and Højlund and Kobbie over. There always is. They are not perfect. But the pile-on that I've seen from Man United fans, I'll be honest with you, it either shows an agenda, either towards a particular player or my favorite player suffered with this type of criticism, so I'm going to now return the favor, which I don't agree with, or it shows a genuine lack of understanding about football. Relying on young players to lead the line for you in one of the hardest leagues in the world, irrespective of what position, is a crazy notion. And every now and then you get a youngster that can do it. You'll get an Mbappe, a Trent Alexander-Arnold, a Cesc Fabregas, but they're as rare as rocking horse shit. They seldom come around where at that young age they have the capabilities. And most of those players I've mentioned that delivered were in pretty good teams with senior players around them. Cesc Fabregas was not Arsenal's best player when he came through. Trent was not Liverpool's best player when he was developing at that young age. Scholes wasn't Man United's best player when he came through. So no, I totally agree. And I think that that's what we have to try and build moving forward, is a team that has some good experience, a good spine. On the rebuild, gents, there's links today to Thomas Frank, that he's a strong contender to be the next Man United manager if Erik ten Hag is to leave. LB, what's your thoughts on Thomas Frank and this rebuild and this rebuild?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be one that you can't really get too excited for if you're a United fan. I mean, looking at his record here, he averages 1.52 points per game for Brentford, which isn't mega. Before that, same sort of at Brondby, and this is his second, major job. So, I guess when you're looking at him, you're probably not looking at quality. I guess you're probably looking at what's he like with the players, what's he like clearing the dressing room. Can he get the dressing room pulling in the right direction? Can he unite the players? Can he unite the fan base? Can he get United moving forward in a more positive light? Is he going to win you the Premier League? Probably not. I don't know. I think that, when it comes to United and the managerial situation, I think you're in a very, very, very tricky situation, man, because Ten Hag is clearly not the man for the job. I mean, it's just clear. I mean, just look at the way you are the table, right? That's it. It's the worst. I believe it's the worst finish in league position for Manchester United in Premier League era, right?
It's the worst. But 8th is the lowest would have been, and currently it's our lowest points total as well. Okay. Yes.
So there's no gaslighting anybody can do to me about injuries, about anything else. This guy is about to set a record for Manchester United Football Club as the worst league finish in the Premier League era. So there's nothing that anyone can tell me, no gaslighting anyone can do to me, tell me this is the right man. The question is then, where'd you go from it? Because let's be honest, yeah, no legit big manager at the moment, in my opinion, is going to Man United. Zidane ain't going to go there. Very surprised if Simeone goes there. Would Thomas Tuchel go there? Maybe, but is he an elite level manager? Probably not as much as I'd like him. I don't know if he's elite. Jose Mourinho would probably go there, but there's question marks about whether or not he's still got it in him. So I just think United are in a very, very tricky situation. It wouldn't surprise me if you end up keeping Ten Hag, because all the interviews I've seen from Gary Neville, recently about we need to keep him. I don't know how close he is to Ineos. I thought he was pretty close because I thought he was on the board of the sort of redevelopment program around Old Trafford, because obviously he's got the hotel right next to the stadium. So maybe he's heard that they're going to keep him, and now the PR's coming out. I'm not sure. But listen, when it comes to coming back to your question, Thomas Frank, I just think it's just sort of like a meh. Like I say, he's probably not going to get you back in the top 4 next season. He won't win you a title, but could he make it less toxic? Maybe. But let me ask you a question, yeah, and for the chat as well. If you bring in Thomas Frank and he gets off to a bad start, United fans are not going to be like, oh, give him time. They're going to be like, hang on a minute, why have we appointed a Brentford manager who averaged 1.52 points per game, and it's his second job ever? Brentford's his second job ever. Why have we got this guy? So I just think immediately he's going to be under massive pressure. But so would everyone. If you got Southgate, he'd be under pressure straight away. If you got De Zerbi, he'd be under pressure straight away. I just think that, I'm just looking at it, bro, and I'm just like, I've got such a smile on my face because I don't see how this gets fixed quickly at all. And I don't know if some United fans might. There's a lot of United fans that don't have the patience anymore because they've been patient, some of them, to be fair, for over a decade. And they've been waiting. They've been leaving the promises of the board. They've been leaving the promises of the owners and the new signings, and it's never worked out sustainably. And season after season. And I just don't know if you get a manager like that and it doesn't start off well. I just think you'll be in the same situation yet again.
Do you know what? I think I understand where you're coming from, and I understand fans have lost patience, but we have not seen change like this at the club since we fell off. We have had no football decision makers at the club. We have been rudderless. We've been led by bankers and accountants, and that has changed. I implore Man United fans to become more patient again and look at this whole thing as a fresh slate. If we almost have to, and it's some of this is psychological. You almost have to, when the final whistle blows after the FA Cup, hopefully victory, right? After the FA Cup final, there's almost an element where you have to completely wipe the slate clean. We've barely started anything new as of yet. Ineos are in, they're getting their ducks in a row with the decision makers, and then they're going to start to impact the squad, the team, the club, the training facilities. That's all going to start in the summer. So I'm at a point where I said this last week on the squad. Big up everyone who subscribed, by the way. Brand new channel, 27,000 subscribers already, which is mind-blowing. So thank you all. I'm not even going to get angry if we appoint Gareth Southgate. I'm not going to get angry.
So someone clip this.
Yeah, clip it. KJ's backstage.
KJ, clip this.
Your face sent me an LB. What I mean by that is I'm not advocating for him. I'm not saying go get Southgate. I'm looking at it as I trust Barada, I trust Ashworth, I trust Jason Wilcock. I trust their football and business acumen combined to for a period of time to trust their decision, to put my own bias, my own whatever I would call football knowledge, my own opinions to the side and say, right, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to keep an open mind, essentially do, LB, what you've just said United fans won't have. That mentality from me will create patience in me. And I think that's what we've got to look. I know what we do, fan content. I love it, right? And we're all, to a degree, we've all got a sense of arrogance about us because we feel the need to come on camera and give our opinions and fight for it. And that's fair. There's nothing wrong with that. But I believe what Man United fans need to do from this summer for a period of time is you can question things, of course. You can say, I don't agree with it. But you can then also put your bias aside when it comes to giving things time. We need a fundamental rebuild from the ground up. You've said in one breath that most big managers will say no to Man United. And I tend to now sitting here, 14th of May, 2024, I tend to agree with that. Hope I'm wrong, but I tend to agree with it. So if we can't get the best managers, then the next pile you're shopping in is people like your Thomas Franks and your Graham Potters of this world. So if they're not good enough for us, but the big guys don't come, what's the other option? We fold as a club? We have to do one of these things. And we are in this position because of 10 years of mismanagement, because bankers and accountants have led us. I am just going to remain patient and as calm as possible. And by the way, I much prefer Thomas Frank to Gareth Southgate. I actually quite rate Thomas Frank. I think he's a very, very capable manager. I know Man United is a completely different kettle of fish. But, I mean, I'm not doing cartwheels for him. But at the same time, I'm not sitting there thinking, oh, my God, what I think he could do for Man United, which is key, is I think he could implement a very strong structure in terms of how we play. And that, for me, is what's been fundamentally missing for years at Manchester United. He has done that at Brentford. And for a team their size, with their budgets and how they operate, to be averaging, 57 points a season, as per your, how many points is it per game?
1.5, but that does include the Championship, by the way. If you do the Premier League, it's a lot worse.
Yeah,
okay, that's a question, though, bro.
Go on.
Would you not rather have Thomas Tuchel?
Listen,
what would be the pros of having Thomas Frank over Thomas Tuchel?
The tale of the two Thomases. Do you know what it is for me? Tuchel has the CV. He's won major trophies. I think structurally, because he's done it at a higher level, you look at his team structure, the way they can play, that all goes to him. My one concern about Thomas Tuchel, and this is more anecdotal, when you read reports of his problems at PSG, his problems this season, his problems at Chelsea, it's falling out with the board, falling out with individuals. And what we kind of need for a period of time is not a yes man that's going to say yes. Well, to a degree, we do need a bit of a yes man who's going to take the direction from the Dan Ashworths and the Baradas of this world that know what they're doing and implement a club system. Tuchel, for me, I don't know if he fits that. So do you get where I'm coming from?
What about if you set out what is happening at Manchester United over the next year? So if you say to him, listen, you can come to United and manage one of the biggest clubs in the world, right? But it's not going to be a situation where you're getting £250 million every year. It's going to be rough for a couple of years. Yeah, because obviously we're not going to be winning the Champions League. We're not going to be winning the Premier League anytime soon. But if you stick with us while we get this clear out of the players done, then in a few years you could go down as the guy that sort of resurrected Manchester United, if you like. And for me, it seems like from the rumours that I've seen, the guy would love to manage United based off the rumours that I've seen on that. I think that would be the way to go.
LB, that I agree with. So for me, as I've said, I'm not married to any player coming in or going. I'm also not married to what manager. Even if we keep Ten Hag, which is against what I want, I'm going to have the same mentality toward this of patience and let these football brains cook. If we can turn around the Tuchel and say, look, you're not going to have control over transfers. You are going to be a coach only. This is going to be the brand of football we want to develop. We will be picking players. You can make suggestions, but we pick who comes in. This is how it's going to be. As long as, and the biggest problem at Man United is that we've done this thing where we promise A, we deliver it for a year, 6 months, 18 months to a manager, and then we change direction and pull the rug from under their feet. As long as Thomas Tuchel knows what the project is, the control he is and is not going to have, as long as he agrees to that, then it could work. So I do agree with that element. So if we know that that's the understanding between everybody and Thomas Tuchel comes in, then he could become successful. There is no doubt about it whatsoever. We have the money and we have the budgets to build, to potentially build a brilliant squad. We've spent as much as City. We've spent more than Arsenal in the last 5 to 6 years. But because we don't have football decision makers making decisions, and we let managers, even letting managers buy players is crazy. You look at all the stuff that come out about Klopp. All the players at the minute, we look at Liverpool and go flop, 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 flop. They're all Klopp signings. As soon as Edwards left and Klopp suddenly got control over that, things have gone backwards. So for me, I do agree with, look, I would prefer Thomas Tuchel over Thomas Frank on most areas. My only worry is, and I suppose it's a little bit of PTSD, is that Tuchel comes in and then wants full control a year in, starts kicking off, and it all falls apart again. We cannot afford for that to happen. We need that. The structure of the club is so key. But as I say, whatever they decide to do in the short term, I'm going to get behind it. I'm going to give it time. I'm going to give it patience as best I can. And one of the other reasons for doing that is I'm just sick and tired of being angry and embarrassed at my football club. When Jumanji kicked in on Sunday, because it did look like a scene from Jumanji when it started raining, I just looked at it and thought, it was such an embodiment of what's happened to us as a football club. I just want to feel differently towards them. I don't know if you get the feeling of that, Dan, because it's not too dissimilar a situation sort of 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, it was. I must say, though, we didn't have any water features in our stadium. I will say that. But no, listen, you just quoted a great film as well, by the way. Loved Jumanji growing up. Fantastic film. Listen, the Thomas Frank situation for me is an interesting one because I think he's done very well at Brentford. I don't think he's done anything to me to look at that I think, wow, this guy's so ready to take on a massive club now. For me, I think that would be a very underwhelming appointment. I will say Thomas Tuchel, I don't quite understand why people are so against it. I don't understand what people are saying about what gets to finals and lose them. Yep, he gets to finals and he could win them. Let's be real. He got to the Champions League final. We didn't lose that one against one of the best sides you ever see. Right. So I think for me, there's an experienced head there. There's also someone who's been successful there. And I think with the names that you've got on the list, Gareth Southgate being one of them, De Zerbi, Thomas Frank, Thomas Tuchel is clearly the best option out of those.
He's so disrespected, Dan, Thomas Tuchel, man.
It is, isn't it?
I go on, and speaking to people about Thomas Tuchel. Listen, no one's sat here saying Tuchel's the best manager in the world. Yeah, he's not even top 3, top 4, but he's a good, solid manager. And I do not understand why there's so many people that just completely disrespect him. I don't get it.
I get that. I mean, look, I thought the other what didn't help him. I mean, recency bias plays a big part in football fans, and I think we're all guilty at times. Going out of the Champions League semi-final the way they did, I know he couldn't legislate for the original mistake, but the substitutions he made, he went quite negative. They had no way of really responding. That goes against you. But we've seen Pep do crazy things in finals before, like the first Champions League final against Tuchel that's been criticised, and he's arguably going to end his career as the greatest manager of all time. And if not the greatest, he's only going to be behind Sir Alex Ferguson, which is no mean feat. So I do think there's an element of disrespect in there. I really do. But I think everything is about structure. I believe that if Roman Abramovich had remained the Chelsea manager, he may not be there now because they went through managers quickly. But I don't believe the situation would have soured the way that it did. I don't believe it would have gone that way because there was obviously an agreement and an understanding. The new board came in, it all changed, and it was like oil and water working together. And I think that's key. You've got the situation at Bayern Munich, which I haven't done enough reading into, but it was almost a case of the ball got rid of Nagelsmann. They've realized they've made a mistake, and that wasn't even so much a dig at Tuchel. It was, we've made a mistake. Suddenly Tuchel's sitting there like he's basically the rebound. He's basically the rebound, right? And some people have been the rebound. Some people have had rebound partners. It ain't their fault, if that makes sense, that they were the rebounds. But the fans at Bayern Munich have sort of petitioned for him to stay. So the fans, and again, I can't talk for every Bayern Munich fan. I'm just going by what they've done online and the stuff they've pushed out there. I don't think he's as bad a manager as people make him out to be at times. But look, I'm going to get behind whatever they do. I've got a question for you boys about expectations. Do you remember when Southgate became England manager? Do you remember that World Cup, 2018? When suddenly there was no expectations for probably the first time in a generation on England. Mm-hmm. And it was arguably the best we've ever performed. Could it not go that way for Man United, where if a Thomas Frank or a Southgate or a Potter comes in and there is a meltdown initially and there is every rival laughs, everybody writes Man United off, the expectations are then on the ground, is there then the possibility that actually creates a much better breeding ground for Man United to grow because suddenly everybody's gone, I give up. There's no way that can be successful. Could it not have the same impact?
Yeah, you could do better. You could do better than everyone expects. A bit like Spurs. Yeah, everyone expected Spurs this year to be like 8th, 7th, because everyone was like, "Oh, Kane's left." You know what I mean? It's going to be horrendous. They're going to be 7th, 8th, and they're going to finish 5th. Outside chance of finishing 4th. Hopefully not. So what we do as fans we usually overestimate teams massively and then underestimate teams massively. So people will look at United if they get Thomas Frank or whoever and go, this is going to be horrendous, and it probably won't be as bad as people think. But the situation would probably still be that you're not going to get back in the top four straight away. You're still not going to be chatting because there's too many better teams. You look at Arsenal, look at City, look at even maybe Liverpool, look at Newcastle, look at Villa. And you look at Spurs. All these teams are all ahead of Manchester United, and I'd argue probably, and the league table don't lie, that Chelsea are ahead. So it's not even just a case of like you're 100% right in that like you could get this manager in and you could perform better than everyone expects, but ultimately there's still 11 players on the pitch, and those 11 players are all at the moment below the teams that I've just mentioned. So listen, you are right. It could be better, but I think it's capped just by the fact that there are so many teams above you that are just, in my opinion, clear of Manchester United.
There is another name that no one's mentioned, and this is me playing more devil's advocate. I don't know if you'd like this name that I'm about to say, Terry, right? But if you hear me out, so if you think
about to say, man,
if you think that this new regime is going to back whoever comes in heavily, then maybe you go for someone who has beat Pep to a title before. Maybe you go for someone who took 13 players under his wing and won in Serie A. Maybe you go for someone who actually went very close to doing what Ange Postecoglou could not do at Tottenham, which is get top four, because he walked out and got the hump. Maybe you give 250 million to Antonio Conte and say, go and win me something in 2 seasons. Thoughts?
That is possibly the worst manager to go into Manchester United at this moment in time.
Yeah,
I've ever heard, bro.
I think it's a good discussion, though. It is a good discussion.
It is a good discussion. But the answer is no. I think if he goes there, bro, the championship soon.
But LB, you're looking at Manchester United as they are now. You're absolutely right. This new regime saying to him, "What do you need, mate? Because you're a winner." I don't know. It could work. You never know.
So listen, I think short term, anything. I mean, I'd prefer Richie Wellens over him. Leyton Orient manager, bring me Richie Wellens, ex-United Academy player. Now, Richie Wellens is a really good manager. He's staying at Orient for another few years, but he's going to manage at a very, very high level. You should watch how Leyton Orient play ball. It's really bloody. First time in my life, I've gone to watch Leyton Orient play with my big brother, and I've been jealous about how his team plays compared to my team, Man United. I'm like, Jesus Christ, look at the difference. But Conte, for me, it's too short term. I think you can do that when your structure and club is in a good position. I think Conte is suited to a club that's in a good space, where you've got a very good squad. So, for instance, if he took over Liverpool this summer and Liverpool went, there's 200 million to add to this squad, brilliant. Well-run club, good, very, very, very good squad, needs a few areas to be worked on. If Pep leaves and City don't have a sort of long-term replacement in mind and they want to keep winning, it could work with the squad that they have. If Arteta leaves in the summer because Ancelotti retires and he goes to Real Madrid, and Arsenal want to go and win something straight away, Antonio Conte could work for you because your squad is brilliant.
You know what, though, Todd? You know why? I've just given you 2 examples that aren't that. Chelsea come 10th and he won the league the next year. He went to Inter Milan. He bought 15 players.
Come on,
hang on a minute.
And then he won Serie A. I don't know, man.
Hang on a minute. Chelsea came 10th, yes, for a bad year, but the season before they were 10th, they won the league. It was a bit of an anomaly. I swear they won the league the year before that with Jose, right?
Wait. Did they win it or did they come second? They did. Anyway, they finished inside like the top two of two. And that team, Dan, the point is he went into a team that was good team that was capable of winning the league. Clearly, they won the league. This United team ain't nowhere near.
When I say well-run club, I can't speak about the Inter Milan situation because my knowledge around that isn't there. I just think with how poorly put together we are now as a club, and it isn't just by the way, the women did great. Won our first major trophy, the FA Cup, at the weekend. But 90% of the rest of the club is absolutely a mess. So much needs to be fixed. I just don't think it would be a conducive environment. CV-wise, winning mentality. We probably should have gone for him when we went for Ollie. We probably should have gone for him at that sort of point. That's when he should have come in when things weren't great for us, but they weren't like they are now. We have just got progressively worse. I am not attacking the guy's CV. He is a winner. I can't believe he's not in work right now. If it's by choice, that's fair enough. If it's there's loads of places he could go and be successful. I just don't see it working at Man United. So it isn't an issue with him. It's, again, style-wise, I don't really care. I'm just about winning. It just wouldn't work.
You're both probably right, and it's more me asking a question as opposed to believing it. But the more I think about it now, if you're going to get these 3 men in that know what they're doing and they're going to give the next manager a big budget, let's just say it's 250 million. I've no idea how much you've got to sell, right? But let's just say you spend money most of the season. I'd rather give that to Antonio Conte than Thomas Frank. I'd rather give that to Conte than Gareth Southgate. I'd rather give that to Conte than some of the names that are on that list that we're talking about going, yeah, I don't know. There's only really Tuchel that I would say, yeah, fair play to. All the others, I'd rather have Conte than over them. 100%.
Yeah. No, I agree. But I do agree in principle. But when you look at Man United's scenario, that's where, for me, I have to look at it and just go, I just don't think it would work for us. I think it would absolutely...
You're probably right.
Ruinous.
The players don't want to play under Conte, man. You know what I mean? They're not interested, half of these players, man. You know what I mean? You got all these people now coming out saying half of these players at United who are claiming to be injured are not actually injured or could play. They're just saving themselves. You know, you've had constant battles with Rashford. You know what I mean? There's so many toxic situations. Bro, these players, nah, man. Conte, honestly, he wouldn't last a week.
Let me ask you this then, right? And this isn't me trying to say that Man United should go for Conte. I just think it's a good conversation. Somebody like that. At Tottenham, he walked out. He was like, I'm done. He didn't walk out because... the reason he walked out is because Daniel Levy was not going to back him with him going for a title. We never ever saw Tottenham progressing. So he's like, I'm done. I don't want that, right? Would he do that at Manchester United, or would these 3 guys go, whoa, don't go anywhere? We'll get there, but it is going to take 2 years. That's my question.
I agree. It depends on what we set to be our style of football as a club. You know, maybe we're not going to have a set style, but maybe it's going to be. Maybe we want to get to a point a bit more like Real Madrid, where it's almost we're going to try and build a squad and build the club back up, and then we're just going to try and appoint the best manager available at the time to make this squad win. That could be our approach. Then an Antonio Conte would fit, in my opinion. But right now, we need to build from the ground up. And I think he'd get frustrated because even if we spent £250 million on some of the best players in the world with Conte, I don't think we're ready to win. And just looking at Inter Milan, I don't know what was going on at the club, but 3 of the 4 seasons prior to him joining and winning the league, they were a top 4 and Champions League team. So, as I say, for me, it's just one of those things where I don't think he took over a scenario like this. But viewers, give us your thoughts and feelings. This here says, this is exactly the type of change I've told people to expect with Barada. United fans wouldn't know what a good operation is if it slapped them. I will agree with you. Man United fans are acting very strange when it comes to the way I mean, some are actually kicking off at Sir Jim because he hasn't fixed Old Trafford yet. Of course he hasn't. They're looking at building a new stadium. They're not going to spend tens of millions of pounds fixing the roof. They're going to invest that into a new stadium. I know it was awful to see what happened, but how the hell are we blaming Ineos that have just arrived? It's crazy to me. Absolutely crazy. We're going to get on some of the other super chats for a little bit about tonight's game. So we are going to move on to that. But viewers, make sure you've hit the like button if you haven't done so yet. Please make sure you're subscribing as well. Big game tonight, gentlemen. Big game for the both of you. But LB, from your point of view, you said at the top of the show, you know, you're feeling a little nervous. It could be champagne or it could be crying in your bed tonight. How do you see this game going at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium?
3-0 win. I'm confident, man. I'm confident. Listen, obviously nervous, you know what I mean? Because there ain't no time to make mistakes. You got to win the game. But I think everyone's been speaking about Spurs. Yeah, Spurs this, Spurs that. What do Spurs fans want? What does Ange want? What do the Spurs players want? What's the crowd going to be like? Blah, 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 blah. No one speak about City, man. I mean, we're unbeaten since the 6th of December. Since the Arsenal 0-0 draw, we've scored at least 4 goals in every Premier League game bar 1, which we won 2-0. Now, we're putting the ball in the back of the net. Our defence is improved. Players are dialed in. We've got a fully fit squad. I'm confident, man. There's no reason I shouldn't be confident. There's no reason I should not be confident, man. Like, literally, my team is cooking. We're playing the best football we've played all season. Spurs have injury problems. Do they even want to play? Like, nah, for me, like, there's no excuses. I think City are going to do it. I think there's been far too talk, which I'm actually kind of happy with because obviously it takes a talk away from Man City. But there's been so much talk on Spurs this, that actually people are just like not looking at the fact that we ain't lost a game since the 6th of December, and we're playing the best football we've played all season. You know, Haaland's playing the best football he's played since pre-injury, which is in December. Kevin De Bruyne is cooking, and I think he'll be right up for it today. Diaz putting his best performance at the weekend that he's put in probably all season. Gvardiol's, man, like for me, 3-0. I go for 3-0 win. And the whole ground will Poznan.
I mean, are you not even a little bit nervous? You've not scored a Premier League.
Like, of course I'm nervous.
Does that? Do you think that could be in the mindset of the players tonight?
Nah.
We haven't ever scored there in the league. Like every club has a bogey club, and Spurs have been your bogey club, home and away many, many times. Do you not think that could factor into your team tonight, or are you just too in the zone?
We're too dialed in, man. Like, obviously I'm nervous. Yeah, obviously we've got to win, otherwise the league's over. Like, I'm nervous, but I don't think that comes into it. Won't surprise me, when the end of season documentary comes out. Won't surprise me if City have banned all talk on the training ground of this curse that apparently exists. By the way, because by the way, this whole curse, was all City had never scored at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Then we beat them in the FA Cup at their stadium, and then everyone went, "Oh well, Premier League, you've not scored there in the Premier League." No. The curse is over, man. The curse officially ended when Nathan Ake scored there in the FA Cup earlier this season. So, I just think that we're too in the zone, we're too in the flow. And listen, you don't know, referee decision, a bad tackle for City, get red card. Anything could happen, right? But I'm just thinking, like, we play how we've been playing since the Arsenal game. You know, Spurs just don't have. I just don't think Spurs have a chance of beating us if we play the best that we can do, which is what we've been doing since the Arsenal game, man. So I'm locked in. My team's dialed in. We've not lost a game since the 6th of December, so you can say it's arrogance, but we know we're nearly 6 months in, and my team's not lost a football match. Like, that's where I'm at. We're scoring goals for fun. Or, we have to drop the balls big time for us not to win tonight. And I just think that we're too dialed in. Like, the players will be on it, man.
City are definitely dialed in. Your form is ridiculously good at the minute. Dan, the record remains, though, that Spurs have had a very good, especially home record against this City team in recent years. Do you think that record becomes a little bit obsolete now that they've completely changed how they're playing under Big Ange, the high line, the openness, the inability to defend corners? Do you think that the record almost becomes void now?
Yeah, it does. Because Tottenham are crap. Let's just have it right. Tottenham are crap, and they're going up against City tonight, and it is going to be embarrassing for them. Manchester City are going to comfortably win. I think a lot of people have been concentrating on Spurs. I don't quite know why. It's as if they're playing well or something. Oh, they're going to get a draw. They could beat them. They could do the unthinkable. No, they can't. They don't want to, for one. They're terrible to watch. They can't keep clean sheets. Every time you get a corner, it's pretty much like giving away a penalty. It is poor. And Ange can sit there all he likes in his press conference and say, we want this, we want this, we want this. The fans are going to go there. It's going to be a very strange atmosphere tonight because they don't want to cheer if they do score. And if they do actually see their goal, their team concede goals, they'll probably cheer as well. So I don't really understand what Man City fans should be nervous about. If I'm honest, this is going to be easy.
I just point out as well, as Saman says in the chat, Arsenal went to Tottenham Hotspur, didn't even play particularly well and still won 3-0.
Exact 3-2. But yeah, it was.
Yeah. 3-2.
We're 3-0 up and we haven't played well there. You're right. Let me also say this. I left the Etihad Stadium knowing that if we won all of our games, we've got an unbelievable chance of really ruining City's season. And when we lost to Villa, I knew we'd lost the league because I knew that Manchester City would win every single game after we left that Etihad ground. And so far, I'm right. I've got 2 games to go. I also will say that I thought Arsenal would beat Aston Villa, and I thought we'd drop points somewhere else. We've ended up winning at Old Trafford and White Hart Lane, and we go to Everton. I'm fairly confident that the Emirates that will beat Everton. But Manchester City are going to destroy these 2 teams. I think they'll put 7 past the pair of them, probably 4 against West Ham, 3 against Spurs. I've kind of accepted it. We're going to come second, 2 points behind City.
Are you going to watch
it? It was defeat. Of course, I'll watch it because you've got a hope. Right?
He's watching it. He's wearing white already. He's got white on already.
I'm going to go and put my Nando's hat on in a minute. You know what I'm saying? But no, listen, I'm not really expecting anything but a Manchester City. Well, I mean, everybody is smashing Spurs at the moment for fun. Why are Man City going to be any different? They've put 4s and 5s past every single team. Haaland's back on form. De Bruyne and Foden are doing their thing. And they've probably got one of the best players in the world right now in Rodri that seems to just be able to win in every single game that he starts. So I just do not have any faith whatsoever that Tottenham are going to be too bothered. And I also believe that you've got West Ham. I mean, let's be real. That is an embarrassing team right there, isn't it? Let's be real. David Moyes is off. No one cares. He's off. Get out quick. Goodbye. They've already said that West Ham fans, our season's now done. We've clapped our players. We don't care about the Etihad. Probably won't even bother going. So it's going to be easy for Man City. This is probably the 2 best games they can hope for, actually. Tottenham and West Ham. Both hate Arsenal. They've got them both. Easy for them. This will be an absolute whitewash in both games.
I do happen to agree. I've sort of kept my counsel over the last few days around how I think this game is going to go. I think Tottenham stand as close to 0 chance as possible. They've been playing. I enjoy their games, but I don't think I'm enjoying their games in the last few months because they're very good. I'm enjoying their games because they're so open, because there's goals. They're a team they're the first team in Premier League history to have. And I want to make sure I get this statistic absolutely correct. I'm going to go and get the numbers officially now. They're the first team in Premier League history to have 26 points or more after 10 games and not finish in the top 4. They're the first team in Premier League history to have 26 points after 10 games and not feature in the title race. And they are also now at risk of not just missing out on Champions League football from that position, but maybe coming 6th, maybe even dropping as low as 7th in the league. As low as 7th. So it goes from being an amazing start under Big Ange to ending up being a finish in the campaign where you may only end up being a handful of points ahead of the worst Manchester United team of a generation.
But Terry, we knew this was going to happen. We knew this was going to happen.
So no, I get. I didn't think they would drop to this level, but I've watched every single one of their games this season and watched them. At the moment, they look vulnerable. I don't believe in their mentality. There's far too much talk of this throw it. There's so many Spurs fans that don't want to win. They've been sending emails in asking to leave. They've got a Spurs musician at the stadium, in their own stadium, singing their City till July. And I believe that's going to creep into the dressing room. And it's going to, not only they're not going to get a draw, absolutely no chance of winning tonight as far as I'm concerned with Spurs. They will get beat and they will be beat handsomely. I think City will put 4 or 5 goals in tonight. This Spurs team is going to, Big Ange is different, and I'm going to play you something from Big Ange in a minute. But these Spurs players, along with 95% of their fan base, are going to roll on their backs. They're going to split their legs, and they're going to say, "City, rub my belly and touch me wherever you want." They belong to Man City today. They are Cuck FC. Simple as that.
Do you know what, though, Terry? I will say this, right? I'll just quickly, and LB, I don't know what you think about this. I think a lot of people are going, Tottenham will roll over. Tottenham can play at their best, and they still could lose 3-0 against this. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is the thing. Like, if they lose 3-0 and Man City are the better side, everyone's going to say Tottenham rolled over. They might not have to. They might actually turn up and go, do you know what? They're playing quite well here. And Man City might go over the line because they're that good.
The thing is, and I would love for Spurs to get a result, not just because I don't want City doing a 4-peat. That's normal. It's a normal thing to we're going to get into rivalry in a minute. It's a normal thing to not want one of my biggest rivals to do a 4-peat. But also, it would make the final day of the season that little bit more fun. It's why I wanted Villa to lose last night, because if Villa were to lose and Spurs were to win, it means you've got a proper top 4 shootout and a title shootout on the final day. And for us as fans and also content creators, it just makes it more fun. But if I'm going to speak honestly away from what I want to happen, I cannot see for love nor money how Spurs walk away without suffering an absolute battering. And I think they'll get hurt so bad tonight that they'll lose their final game of the season to Sheffield United as well. And I think they're going to end up between 6th and 7th in the league, which from such a brilliant start, they end the season awfully. They end it absolutely awfully. And look, there's going to be a lot of soul. I think there's going to be a lot of soul searching for Spurs fans come the end of this season. There really is going to be, especially if Chelsea, by the way, who we have all either criticised and like Spurs fans have laughed at Chelsea all year. I've got a feeling Chelsea might finish ahead of him, you know. I've just got a little feeling Chelsea might win their last two games.
They only need a point though, don't they? Spurs to
they do,
finish fifth.
And I know they've got Sheffield United. Yes, but they're going to get battered by you tonight and lose. And Newcastle are probably going to beat Man United tomorrow. Chelsea play away against Brighton. Their record against Brighton this season is really good. Spurs could just find themselves in such a bad position with how they're going. I want to play you guys what Ange Postecoglou said, though, about all of this. Take a little listen, gents.
With the lack of trophies, as we all know, for the last 20 years or so, it's been one of their most sort of celebrated things is getting one over their rivals. I suppose does the fact that you're sort of suggesting it to me suggest where you want to take this club, that it's beyond having those kind of
okay, so I assume over the last, when was the last time the club won a trophy? 15?
2008.
Yeah. I suppose in these last 15 years, there's been years where Tottenham have had bragging rights, yeah? I've walked through the halls, mate, there's no bragging rights trophies in there. There's none. The pictures on the wall do not show players with a big sign saying we've got bragging rights. They've just got pictures of Bill Nicholson and the people who've actually achieved.
And look, I loved hearing that because there's a lot of Spurs fans that are almost saying if we lose tonight, we stop Arsenal. That gives us some kind of bragging right. And for me, Ange's attitude is right. I hear Spurs fans say, I don't even want to be in the Champions League because we probably won't win it. Big Ange is sitting there as your manager saying, no, we want to be in it because I'm going to try and make us win a trophy. And if we're not in it, you definitely don't win the Champions League. Do you think that's the right mentality to have, what you've just seen there from Big Ange?
Well, I would say, first of all, I don't think if Tottenham lose tonight, I very much doubt they'll be gloating too much at Arsenal fans, but
they will.
It's mainly because they don't want Arsenal fans to be rubbing it in the face that they've won the Premier League and Spurs haven't. You know what I mean? They don't really want that to happen. And some Spurs fans will look at it and go, well, if we are in the Champions League, so you do get a result tonight, you beat City tonight, hand the title to Arsenal. Arsenal fans might say thanks, but then they will then rub it in your face that they've won the Premier League, and then you're in the Champions League next year. And what? You're not going to win the Champions League next season. So what's the point? I completely understand why some Tottenham fans don't want to win tonight and would rather lose. And by the way, you're talking about winning trophies. What competition are Spurs more likely to win? The Europa League or the Champions League? The Europa League. So it's not like a terrible situation. And people will be like, yeah, but if you're in the Champions League, you get all the money. Well, they were in the Champions League 2011, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2022. What have they won? They won nothing in that time. So you can't tell Spurs, yeah, but if you get Champions League, then you get money and then you can win stuff. They've been in the Champions League 7 times in the last 14 years. They've not won a trophy. So I just think, I understand why Spurs fans are saying they'd rather lose, get Europa League, because you've got more chance of winning, and you don't have to deal with Arsenal fans rubbing it in the face.
I don't think they've got any chance of winning the Europa League because it's Tottenham. Anyway, when I look at what I've just listened to, I think it's hilarious from Ange. Like he's like, look at this dusty cabinet I'm walking past every day. It's just class, absolutely brilliant. When was the last time we actually won something? What an unbelievable thing to say in an interview. That is absolutely brilliant. I mean, fair play. That is class.
He has to say that. He can't sit there and agree with the fans that want to lose, right? But like you can't get onto these Spurs fans, right, who go to work day in, day out with Arsenal fans, right, and have to deal with these Arsenal fans, yeah? And if Arsenal win the league, they'll have to deal with that all year, yeah? All year. It'll be horrendous. And for what? And by the way, you win tonight, you've still not got a guarantee of getting Champions League anyway, because Spurs, if Villa do their thing at the weekend, you've still not got Champions League. So if it's, you win, you'll hand the title to Arsenal, and then you don't get Champions League anyway.
The thing is, though, boys, but do you agree that building up experience as a club, and especially within a squad, in the Champions League is important?
Yeah, it is important. Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. When they got into the Champions League in the 16-17 season, 17-18 season, and 18-19 season. The only time in there, and then the following year, but obviously things started going wrong by that point with the manager, and we all know about that. But they got into the Champions League in 2010, 2011. They got to the quarterfinals. I thought they did really well that year. They then got back into the Champions League group stages. Then the next year they went out in the round of 16. I think that was the famous interview with where he said that this is the history of the Tottenham. The following year, on their third year of building up Champions League experience, they got to the final. Now, if Spurs would have invested properly into Poch or hadn't gone down that stupid road of the Nunos and the Joses and the Contes, which went against the style of football they were building, and they carried on making it into the Champions League, they could have won it. The issue is, if you keep saying, I don't want to be in it, you set that seed of failure into the mindset of the players. It's okay not to achieve. Spurs are a club that if they have any ideals and ambitions of ever winning it, they've got to try and get into it and compete in it regularly. Arsenal this year struggled in it in a number of games because Arsenal for a long time had been out of it, and this group as a collective had very little experience. The likelihood of Arsenal next season being better in the Champions League is higher due to having experienced what they've already been through. The same as last season's title run, I think, is what's helped them not collapse and stay in it till now this year. So where I get your point that they probably don't have a chance of winning it next year, that's no reason to not fight with every ounce of your fiber and being to try and get into it. And young Dan Seris has something in the comment section a minute ago where he said, we don't deserve it. Who cares if you don't deserve it? If Man United come 8th now this season, but by some weird quirk of fate because of FFP problems for one team and FFP problems here, we get offered a chance next season to be in the Champions League, I would want my club to accept that invitation. None of us actually ever know how good you're going to be the following year. When Arsenal missed out on the top 4 3 years ago, if you predicted they were going to be in the title race, you were called a madman. If you predicted Aston Villa being in the Champions League positions this season, you would have been called crazy. If any of you predicted Dortmund at the start of the season being in a Champions League final, you would have been put in a straitjacket, metaphorically speaking. So as much as I understand in reality, Spurs are not going to be a favourite next year, this idea of I don't want to be in it unless I'm one of the favourites, it's flawed logic. Because unless you build up experience in the tournament, you're never going to be one of the favourites. You've got to strive to be in it, in my opinion, at the very least.
The thing that I would also say, though, do Spurs fans actually believe that will ever happen with this ownership? Because they've been lied to, they've been told, oh, we had Pochettino did really well, never invested. They had Mourinho, oh, we got a winner. They're going to back him, never backed him. Got Conte, we finally got a manager. And it's just like, they're probably looking at this, Terry, and they've had so many... They've tried everything. So they're like, well, hang on a minute. Because what you just said there, Terry, is right, yeah? 100%, no one can disagree with you. If they back the manager and back the club with finances properly, right? But if they don't, then it's irrelevant because you'll never sustain it at the top level. So maybe the Spurs fans are just like, well, hang on a minute. Like, even if we do get top 4, he's not going to back the manager properly anyway. We'll sign all these 20, 30 million pound players that no one's ever heard of, like Dragusin. And we'll just be back to square one in 2 years. But then Arsenal have won the league.
I get that, but you've got to look at it this season, 272 million spent. Year before that, 180. Year before that, 100 million. Year before that, 110. Year before that, 150. They are one of the biggest spending teams in recent and overall Premier League history. They've spent more than Arsenal in their Premier League history. The only 3 teams that have spent more than Spurs is City, Chelsea, and Manchester United. They spend a lot of money. Their wage bill is absolutely massive. I'm just looking at this. This here, what is it under? It's under Deloitte's. So looking at this here with Tottenham as it currently stands, and their revenue, by the way, puts them at the 7th highest revenue in Europe. They do spend money. I get the point. Are they going to buy the right individuals? The biggest problem for me is that they should never have gone away from what Poch had built. Going down that win now route with more pragmatic managers, I think, is what held them back. I think they will spend. I think they've already started to back this new manager. They spent £272 million on this squad. It's faded toward the end of the season, but that's because what they inherited wasn't particularly great. You do something similar again this year, which is easier, by the way, with Champions League money, and you give Ange another £200+ million building this squad. Maybe what they did for the first half of the season, they can sustain it for longer. Then you're looking at a team that's capable of almost anything. And someone here says it's waffle, but it isn't waffle. I'm giving you cast iron facts. It's an absolute fact. They spend huge amounts of money, Tottenham. They always have this idea. Do you know when Fergie retired, Tottenham had spent something like £70 million more in totality in Fergie's period at the club than Man United had spent? This idea that Spurs are this little minnow that don't invest money is a fucking lie. It's a lie. And their revenue puts them as, I think, the 7th highest revenue in world football. This idea that they're little Tottenham is crazy. Yes, and Arteta has spent 700 million, but that's completely irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant to the conversation. It makes no difference to what he spent, what Man United has spent. We're talking specifically about Spurs, and they always get patted on the head like a good little dog. Oh, it's okay, little one. You're all right. No. Come on now. It's crazy.
They don't act like a big club, though, do they? Let's be real. I know they're like spending all this money, but my God, like over 60 years without a title, over 30 without an FA Cup, couple of energy drink cups in the last, what's it been, 20, 30 years?
I did lie, by the way. They're not the seventh highest turnover in world football. It's the 8th. But to give you an example of this, their current turnover is £631 million of income. Their wage bill, just want to let you guys know what they pay in wages to their players, is just under £300 million. It's huge. It's absolutely huge what they pay. It really, really is big. To put that into context, if we look at, say, Manchester United, ours is higher than that. But to give you an idea, size difference between the two football clubs, Manchester United, and we're failures, but in terms of what we've spent, we shouldn't be failing. Our wage bill is 380, so we spend £80 million a year more than them. Liverpool's is a little bit higher. Chelsea's is lower than theirs. Arsenal, their wage bill is £50 million more than Arsenal's. And people say they don't spend. Maybe they invest it wrong, but the idea of not spending is not true.
They're desperate to be that club, though, aren't they? You know, they're like when you have a younger brother or a sister, you both get on bikes. You're that older one and you're on the bike and they've got their stabilizers on. They're desperate to take their stabilizers off like you. You take them off, bang, straight on the floor. That's what Tottenham are. That's what they do. They're so desperate to take their stabilizers off and try and be that big club. They just can't do it. It's just what it is. It's history of the Tottenham, as they say.
I don't think it helps when they also say things like, "But it's okay, guys. Get in the Europa. We've got more chance." I think the mentality comes from all areas where you've got to be equally. You shouldn't be going, if we don't win the Champions League in the first time of asking, we've got to rip the whole club down. That's crazy. But you've got to have standards that they have to exist at some degree.
You can tell from the Spurs fans in the chat what we're talking about. It's brilliant. Looking at the Spurs fans in the chat. They're losing their heads. Really
Kate
funny.
Here says, "Come on, you Spurs. Let's try and beat City tonight. I love my club more than I dislike any other. I want to see us try and beat the best. Come on, you Spurs." Big up, Kate.
Big up, Kate.
Big up, Kate. Halftime Hooks here says, "LB, you don't need W today. Let's leave it to goal difference." Listen, if it ends up going down a goal difference, we could see a kind of Aguero moment again or something like that. Do you know what I mean? It'd be crazy. Spurs will win tonight. Well, I hope so. I'm going undercover today. North London forever is what's been said here. Tottenham lose, but people hand red to Rodri or De Bruyne might give us a chance for West Ham to get a draw. No, I want like Rodri to get a free game ban so he misses that FA Cup final. That's what I would like. Do you know what I mean? A bit of violent conduct in there. Meltdown, Spurs win, and Arsenal bottle it to Everton. Yeah, can you imagine it that way round?
Oh, that would be incredible.
Oh my god! It's crazy. It would just. I don't think anyone know what to say. Spurs will never win anything until they let go of what? I need to know what they're letting go of, my bro. Spurs are football's greatest joke, is what Avram Glazer says here. City fans are so entitled. It's like those rich kids that end up being homeless because their daddy bought them everything in their life.
That's class.
That is kind of funny super chat, to be fair. Did you, speaking of funny, or maybe not so funny, did you see what we'll play for the viewers what the Arsenal fans did outside of the Man City hotel in London last night?
Crazy.
We galley on, you know. Turns out Man City weren't in the hotel.
That is shocking, man.
Shameless. That is absolutely crazy, isn't it?
They just set off some fireworks.
The poor fuckers that do live around there, though. The poor fuckers that do live around there. That is horrendous, man. Horrendous.
Dear.
Shows. I remember. Do you remember when Simon Jordan and Robbie really went at it years ago on TalkSport, and they said I question, and it was because he said I question what the average IQ of an Arsenal fan is. Unfortunately, he had a point. That was a worry. That was a worry. When I saw that, I did laugh, but I heard that they weren't even in there. And they've not actually travelled. There's 3 coaches there, which means there's some form of Manchester City people there. Like the boot scrubbers or something. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, crazy.
That was funny. And I seen it on Twitter.
Desperate times,
They're getting
Desperate
absolutely cooked today for that. So,
yeah. You know what? That's funny, right? I see we always get slagged off here in England. Like we don't really have ultras, but our fans don't ever go. You saw what Ajax fans did earlier on this season when they basically smashed up the stadium because they were so unhappy with things. The French fans can be crazy. We suddenly have a group of fans that sort of take things into their own hand, and we laugh at them. Do you know what I mean? We go, what a silly sausage. But yeah, the fact that you didn't even wake them up, the fact you didn't even wake the City players up is crazy to me. It's not as good as what Arsenal did back in the day where they poisoned Spurs and gave them the runs. At least you guys did it properly.
Yeah, come on, man. That's just funny, innit? You know what I mean? But no, listen, if that's what they got to do, you know what I mean? The Arsenal fans are trying to influence and fair dues, but just hilarious how the City players weren't actually there, man. You know what I mean? So
crazy.
Yeah, that made me die.
Just 200 miles south of where they needed to be, the fireworks. And by the way, the game kicks off at 8 p.m. anyway.
They'll have an afternoon nap to catch up if it all went wrong. Anyway.
I see people wait a minute. Even if they did wake them up for 20, because by the way, they're not going to do that all night. They probably did it for 15 minutes. So what? They wake up at 2 a.m. for 15 minutes. So they've had 15 minutes of disturbing situation, and then they go to sleep.
And the kind of hotels these footballers are staying in, they're going to be triple glazed windows. They're not going to hear anything. But what you really have to do is go into the hotel and set the fire alarms off. And if you should have just kept on doing it all night. Having said that, you would not have woke up a single City player because they weren't there. Do Tottenham have that 2006 lasagna on ice? Yeah, I mean, that's what they also. Do you know?
I need my players to have been doing a fast over these last 24 hours, man. I need them to have fasted.
Do you know what's crazy? I remember listening. I want to say it was Dennis Wise that spoke about this. It might not have been. It was someone of that kind of era. This is one of the craziest things that football clubs used to do to each other. When you were the visiting team, the away team, the home team would supply drink and food for you. Do you know what they used to do? They would go in and undo lots of the bottles of water that they put in, mineral water they put in the room, and they would crush up things like sleeping tablets and put it inside the water. So that when the players got there and started drinking, I know what you actually think about it. You could kill someone.
Yeah, that's illegal, man.
I have to find the clip and snip it, and I was like, my word. Football was a madness back in the day, going in there and poisoning people's drinks, with sleeping tablets so they feel lethargic. Speaking of madnesses, I need to throw this out, gentlemen. I need to throw this out because I've been very confused the last 24 hours. What is wrong with Arsenal fans wanting Tottenham to win tonight, i.e. supporting Tottenham tonight? Why has that caused such widespread debate and challenge online? Why is it suddenly wrong to want your biggest rival or one of your rivals to win a football match that benefits your club? What's wrong with that, Dan?
Want them to win, you mean? Want Tottenham to win?
Yeah, want Tottenham to get a result. What's wrong with that?
No, that's what we want, right? I was getting confused when you were saying it. I was thinking, do you mean the other way around? That's what we need. We literally need that if we want to win the league, or we need a draw at least. Yeah. So I don't get it. I've seen some uproar about people saying why the hell are Arsenal now begging for Spurs to win? That's because if they don't, we can't win the league. We literally cannot win the league. I don't get it. What is so mad about that? I don't understand that.
I'm as confused as you.
Supporting the club. It's about saying, who do you want to win tonight? I'd rather see Tottenham beat Man City. I'm not supporting Tottenham, am I? I'm saying, what do I need to happen for me to win the league?
You're supporting us.
Spurs shirt on, get everything around here. Look at the TV. Come on, get the scarf out. You don't do all that crap. You just say, hopefully Tottenham can try and do the unthinkable and be a bit Spursy for us. And
I've seen people online annoyed with Kai Havertz because he said, I'm going to be the biggest Tottenham fan on Tuesday. I've seen posts from people stating that you'd never see Galatasaray fans wanting Fenerbahce to win. You'd never see Celtic wanting Rangers to win. but surely they would, LB, if that result helped lead to a title for them. Or am I missing something here?
No, listen, Arsenal fans will want Spurs to win the game, in my opinion. And, you know, it's the same thing, though, isn't it? Some Spurs fans want Spurs to lose because they don't like the rivals Arsenal. You know what I mean? It's just the other way around. You know what I mean? This time, Arsenal fans, a lot of them are wanting Tottenham to win because then they can win the league. You know what I mean? So, yeah, listen, I don't really get it. I think that I think most of the Arsenal fans will want Spurs to be. Listen, obviously, there's some Arsenal fans that won't be active. Like, seeing some of the stuff online, some Arsenal fans, like, actively supporting Spurs tonight. You know what I mean? Merging the two club crests together as one. And all that, maybe that some people think that's going too far. But, like, surely, as an Arsenal fan, you want Spurs to win the game tonight. Surely.
Absolutely. 100% we do.
I agree, and I know the question's confusing. It's just confused as I have been online. I saw like the volume of responses to, like I think AFTV today tweeted out a picture of match day with like the Spurs' match day crest, and just the number of gooners that I've seen. Why are you doing this? Why are you repping? Why are you putting out props to Spurs? They're the enemy, and I'm just sitting there and thinking to myself, "You're mad." Everybody that wants Arsenal to win the league should be wanting Spurs to win tonight. I don't. And look, there's having fun online as well. Like Kai Havertz doesn't literally mean he's going to become a Spurs fan. He just means he wants Spurs to win a game. I've not really understood the fallout from it. I don't know. Look at this. Kai Havertz can go F himself. Why? I don't understand.
What is going on? I don't get it either. Ozil come out today and said the same. We're all Spurs tonight. They're all bantering. They're not actually going to put a fucking Spurs shirt on and sit there watching the TV with a scarf on, people, right? They are looking at the result in one eye going, right, what could we have to do the weekend? Unfortunately they didn't. Or wow, Spurs have done something. I don't get the outrage. This is just an obvious thing, right? Surely. I don't get it. I cannot understand it.
Well, the alternative is you most likely don't win the league, because if City win today, will most likely beat West Ham and therefore win the league.
So what do they want then? Do they want Tottenham to lose and then they go and be a West Ham fan for the day? What way around is it? I don't get it.
Dan, maybe there are some. And I'm sure every fan base has it. Maybe there are some Arsenal fans who just like being upset. Maybe there are some Arsenal fans that don't want. Maybe they sort of got Stockholm syndrome and they're addicted to the bad days and they want it to return. I just don't get it. I honestly cannot fathom what I've been reading on Twitter, what I've seen across socials. I'm sitting there and I'm like, what have I? And that's why I thought I'd ask the question today. And so far in the comment section, no one's really. Someone here says tribal fools. I mean, yeah, but it's not. I don't even know if it's tribal fools. I can't imagine in May 1999, last day of the season, I can't imagine any Arsenal fan were happy when Man United beat Tottenham at Old Trafford to clinch the league title from Arsenal, right? I can't imagine. So why suddenly today? I know it's the opposite. Well, it's not the opposite. You want Spurs to win. I don't understand why it's getting such a weird reaction online. I thought maybe I'd missed something. Maybe something had happened. Maybe something had been said that I kind of missed and went through the cracks. But it just didn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
The only thing I can imagine is they don't want to be supporting Spurs or backing Spurs tonight, only for Spurs to get beat, and then it's sort of like you just kind of look a little bit like, oh, you was backing Spurs and maybe like a bit embarrassing or whatever. I don't
think anyone is over the top backing Tottenham tonight. I mean, most of the people I spoke to are like, I wish they could do something, but I don't see it happening. Do you? I don't see people going, come on, this is the night, and going extreme.
No, some Arsenal fans have bought tickets in the home end. I've seen it on Twitter before, because a lot of Spurs fans have sold the tickets on. There's a Man City ticket page, right, who sorts out away tickets at City, yeah? He's not selling away end tickets, he's selling all the fucking home end tickets for Spurs tonight. A lot of Spurs fans are selling the tickets to City fans, and Arsenal fans have bought some as well.
Well, this here says, Terry, you can't understand the rivalry. Well, I understand rivalry. I don't want Liverpool and City to win anything, but this is what's weird. I've been slagged off all year for saying I don't want City doing a 4-peat. Suddenly I don't understand rivalry. But if City winning tonight almost guaranteed Man United winning the Premier League, I would want City to win because my club succeeding means more to me than the rivalry. And equally, I've seen some of you, man, that I'm seeing it's a rivalry. I can never support them. Are the same guys that I've seen in my comment section before say Spurs aren't even rivals because they don't win anything. So you're now chatting shit, bruv. Because I remember your comments. This here says no real Arsenal fan would ever cheer on Spurs. Are you going to cheer tonight, Dan, if Spurs win?
If Spurs win the game against Man City, I will not, as you know me well, go absolutely mental. But I'll be a very, very happy Gooner. And I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that.
Mental, bro.
Well, exactly. Yeah. But what's wrong with that? I don't get it.
Nothing. No.
All right, okay.
I'm saying you'll pop off.
Yeah. I'll be well happy if Spurs win tonight. That's the question, right? Of course.
Yeah, no, of course.
There's a lot of Arsenal fans.
I agree. I'm not saying that's
all right.
Thing.
Okay. Yeah.
You just played it down a little bit. That's all.
Yeah, because I'm not going to start going mental in people's faces because we've still got to go and do the job at the weekend, right? But I'm going to be very happy because it gives us an unbelievable chance to win the league.
You're at home to Everton. Come on, man. If City lose tonight, we won the league.
Mate, I've seen this. I've seen Arsenal. But
this is the best Arsenal team in Premier League history according to the stats.
Yeah, but I still don't think we're going to win the league. So,
but if Spurs win tonight, you're telling me the best ever Arsenal team in Premier League history will not be Everton at home.
If you draw tonight, who do you think will win the league?
Arsenal.
Okay, that's interesting because obviously it's goal difference there. You've got to go and pipe West Ham.
Yeah, but even if you win, so listen. I don't think you'll smash. I don't think you'll smash Everton at the weekend. Yeah, because obviously they've actually got I think it's the fourth best defense in the league. But if you score 2, if you win by 2 goals, right, which is I think it's realistic, right, that you win 2-0 right the weekend. We have to win 5-0, and listen, that's possible, but like, is that going to happen? Like 5-0? I mean, listen, we have been slamming everyone, so maybe it is possible, but I think that the odds are massively in your favour. By the way, if City draw tonight.
All right, Hunger Games.
What?
This made me laugh from young Daniel. This is the message to you, LB. It's about Arsenal, though. He says they're serial bottlers, LB. This is Spurs fan Daniel saying they are serial bottlers.
Go on, Dean.
It's quite funny. It's quite funny.
This here says, no, they're just edgy and pretentious. I'm proper Arsenal. I never want Spurs to win. Give it a rest. I thought he was. Yeah, that is the way it is. I don't really get it. I've got to say, I'm surprised that there are Arsenal fans out there. So they're just sort of saying, well, I will not be cheering them on. I tell you that. So they're just accepting that that's done. Then, like, they would rather it just be done now. Like, is that what it is? Because I think it's done. Yeah. I've accepted Man City are going to win the league, but that's because I think Man City will win both games, not because I want them to win it. You know what I mean? It's weird. I mean, if there was 30,000 Arsenal fans outside Tottenham Stadium tonight clapping the Spurs fans out the coach, I'd be like, oh, that's a bit much, maybe. But at the same time, wanting them to win, would you support Liverpool if it meant Man United win the league? Yes, because Liverpool win. Do you know what's funny? I've done that before as well. I don't know how old you are, Pat Man. And Liverpool did it for Man United. They played Blackburn on the final day of the season and they beat them. Man United had to beat West Ham, and I think we drew 1-1. Andy Cole missed a sitter near the end. Liverpool literally they did it for us. I was sitting there that day as a kid watching, screaming and cheering every time Liverpool scored because it gave us a chance. We just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. So at the end of the day, it's always been there. It's not about supporting Liverpool. It's about wanting your team to get success. This here says it isn't weird to go. It isn't weird to go to the toilet as a gooner as you go there to see them. Oh, okay, then you go there to see them win, hopefully, and then take the piss there if Spurs fans are helping us. Now, I wouldn't actually warrant doing that. There's going to be a lot more of them than there is you. I'd be very, very careful. I'd be very, very careful doing that at football matches. I'm not sure social media fans truly represent the fan base. There's a lot of crazy out there saying that, though, as a gooner. Come on, you Spurs. Big up the panel is what Jason says. People need a sense of humor. No Arsenal fan is supporting Spurs. We're supporting whoever.
Do you know what?
Playing.
That is bang on. What he's just said there is absolutely bang on. That would be an absolute bang on. You are supporting whoever Man City are playing, and we'll be doing the same if it's West Ham. Yeah, if it goes to the last day,
of course. And there is also a little bit of sense of humor about it. And I think that the idea that people want to make football Robbie said some things. Probably I haven't seen it all. I've seen City fans though posting Manchester Hotspur badges, a mixture of the two badges to get like, come on guys, let us win tonight. It's just a little bit of fun, and I think if anyone thinks that stuff hurts football, it's crazy.
It's crazy as well because Robbie Turkish and Lee are obviously doing a pray along or hate along, whatever the hell you call it, on on AFTV, and the meltdown is unbelievable. Did you see how many hate alongs there was when Porto played Arsenal? Do you know what I mean? How hypocritical is that? Like,
I think everyone that's angry about it is genuinely. They're part of the people that I say are scared of Arsenal. They're in the scared camp. They are petrified that you might win it, because if you do, they're all finished. They're all finished because they've got nothing else to say, and that's what a lot of it comes down to. Sonny here says, fans these days are just nuts. In my opinion, even if we don't win the Premier League, we have improved drastically. Best defense in the league, best point season ever, gave City another great run. Havertz shut people up, etc. What is meant to be will happen. Yeah, I think you can be disappointed at not winning the league, but still happy overall with your club. I feel like those emotions are completely normal for Arsenal at this point. Game will be over by 8:30, and every Arsenal fan putting Spurs shirts on their timeline will be embarrassed. Fans have put Saka in a Spurs shirt. Well, I put him in a Kai Havertz in one, but I'm not an Arsenal fan. Do you know what I mean? I can confirm that Dan Potts did not make the thumbnail. I can confirm that here. I don't care. I will go absolutely mental if Spurs get a result. Everyone who says otherwise doesn't love the Arsenal. I agree. I think most football fans should celebrate if it happens, because it could potentially stop a 4-peat, which is a record that none of you are catching, bruv. Spurs looking at this game with a massive negative mindset, envy. The club should showcase proper virtues. If the players are resigned to losing, then they will perpetuate their losing mentality and culture. Listen, I agree with that. As I say, Liverpool Football Club helped Man United in Blackburn's title winning season on the final day of the season when most didn't think they would. It could happen again. Terry, how's the hairline coming on? It's good, bruv. I just ain't done my hair today, so I got out on, bruv. And I was walking the dog earlier, so I got a bit wet. So, yeah, it stuck out on. But, yeah, hairline is looking strong, brother. We want City to lose rather than Spurs to win. Yeah, that's probably more it. Yeah. I hear that. Score predictions tonight, boys, for the big game. What are you going with, Mr. Potts?
I do stick with LB, and I said it earlier. I think it will be 3-0 to Manchester City tonight. And I unfortunately see no way that Spurs can pick anything up. But I hope I'm wrong.
LB? 3-0. Kevin De Bruyne tonight will run the show, man. That's my prediction. Big game player, and tonight he'll be there, and he will cook. Goal or assist.
I am going with 4-0. 4-0 to Spurs. No. What can you imagine? No, 4-0 to Man City tonight.
4-0 means that if Arsenal would have to win by more than a goal at the weekend if City draw against West Ham as well. So 4-0, anything above 4, I don't get too giddy about it, but if City do win by 4 or more tonight, then that potentially also allows us to draw our final game of the season, depending obviously what happens in the Everton game. But I don't know. I think 4 is a little bit high. I've gone for 3-0. I think 3 a bit. And as well, by the way, like Spurs have some players out, right? They're going to play Oliver Skip at left back. Basuma's out the game. Werner, I know he's not great.
Who are they playing at left back?
Skip.
You are joking me, right?
I asked you before if you was tuning in, bro. I thought you'd done your research, innit?
6 or 7-0 then. 6 or 7-0.
6 or 7-0. Oh, can you imagine him up against like Doku or Foden or Bernardo Silva? Oh my days, my giddy gosh. Look, viewers, I want to thank everybody that has tuned in. LB, Dan, always a pleasure to speak football with you two gentlemen. We're live tonight for an instant match reaction on the Full Fan Highlight Show. I just want to say as well, a big shout out to everyone who has gone and followed our channel, The Squad. We've just gone past it now. Boom. We've just gone past 30,000 subs, baby, on the new channel. So thank you very, very much indeed, people. I appreciate that a lot. Until next time, everybody, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.